Hello future cubers! Today we're going to be learning how to solve your first Rubik's Cube using the beginner's method. Before we start though, we do need to know some basics. First, these pieces in the corners that has 3 faces are called corner pieces. Totally original, right? These pieces that have 2 faces and are in the edges are called edge pieces. Totally not obvious. And finally, these pieces in the centers are called, you guessed it, center pieces. And talking about centers, these center pieces actually never move. But you might be like, wait, if I turn the middle layer, the centers do move. And that's true, except they don't really move. This white center always is opposite to the yellow. Even when I turn it, you can see that they are always opposite to each other. So yeah. The blue center is always opposite to the green center, and the red center is always opposite to the orange center. And now that you've learned that, we can actually start solving this bad boy. The first step is to create the daisy. Yes, the actual flower. And to create this one-of-a-kind daisy, we're basically just going to move these white edges up into the top layer where the yellow center is, so that it will look similar to a daisy. I'm going to have my white center facing downwards and my yellow center facing upwards. And there are a couple of scenarios that will come along to solve this. The first scenario is where we have a white edge on my right when the white is facing me. And to do this, we're just going to do a very simple R turn. Now, if you may have noticed, we already have a white edge here. And when I did that R turn, it knocked that petal down. So we're actually just going to turn the top layer in any direction until there's no white petal there. So then I can actually do an R turn to bring this petal up and leave all of the other ones undisturbed. Then there's the mirror of that version where it's on our left. And to solve this, we're just going to do an L prime. And once again, you can see that knocks out our previous petal, and we can still just turn the top layer to move it out of the way, so we can do an L prime undisturbed. The next situation is where our white petal is in the bottom layer, but it's flipped. And this situation is a little bit more tricky. First, I want to make sure that there's no white petals on top of it, because when I'm taking this petal, I accidentally might rip another petal, and we don't want that. So I can once again turn the top layer so that there's no petals on top of it. I'm going to hold it in front of me and do an F prime turn to bring it up to the middle layer, which we can then solve normally. Then there's this weird looking situation where the white edge is in the bottom layer and it's not flipped. And to do this situation, we're basically going to make sure that there's no white petals on top of it once again, so this would not be good. And hold it in front of us and turn the front twice. So we're going to do once, twice. Now finally, my least favorite situation is where it is in the top layer, but it's flipped. Now to do this situation, I'm going to hold it in front of me and do an F prime. And you can see that will not get into the middle layer, where we can then bring it up normally. And if you have done all those steps correctly, I hope you have, then you will see that you have created our daisy. The next step is to create the white cross using the daisy we just created. First, I'm going to turn the top layer until I see that I have made a line just like this, where our petal and the center create a line. I'm going to hold it in front of me and bring it down to the white center by doing an F2. Now keep doing this with all of your petals. So here I have a line. I'm going to hold it in front of me, do an F2. And keep doing this until all of your petals have been brought down into the white layer or the bottom layer. And if you have done it so that there's no longer any petals left on our daisy, and we turn over our cube, you have created a not so pretty daisy. My guinea pigs are squealing because it looks so much uglier. but this is key to solve our cube, unfortunately. Now, with that aside, we have to create the first layer of our cube. And this step also has a couple of scenarios that can happen. First, I'm going to take, say, this corner right here. Now this corner has blue and red on it. So I'm going to locate the blue and red centers, which are obviously right here, and place my corner in between them like it is right now. Now, since this corner has blue and red, and so do these centers, I like to think of it that since this corner has to go into this spot is basically this corner's house. So we got to get this guy into their house. Now, this situation is really, really easy. We're going to do a U-turn, an R, let's say. So now their house is right here, and the door, let's say, is wide open. A U prime turn. Now our corner is in their house, and an R prime to bring down the corner into their house. One way I like to think of it is that the corner has to move out of the way, because if they don't, there's a security system where when you open the door, it also fires some sort of punching thing, where if you're in the way, it will punch you. So this corner wants to move out of the way so that they don't get punched. Now I have this corner right here that has green and red on it. So I'm first going to locate the centers and put this corner in between them. And now when I have the white facing me, this corner is on my left. And we're basically going to do what we just did, except in reverse. So we're going to do U prime, L prime, now the door and the punching thing, U, now our corner is in the door, and an L to bring it down. And you can see that brings the corner in. Now, if I have a situation where it's either flipped in its correct spot or it's in a wrong spot, then this, we're just going to do the same algorithm we did before. If it's in its correct spot, though, you can just corner twist it. No, I'm joking. Please do not corner twist. If it's in its correct spot and it's not orientated properly, or if it's not in its correct spot, but it's in somebody else's house, they were visiting, I guess, then you can just solve it as if I was trying to put another corner in. So this corner is in the wrong spot, and I have this yellow corner, and let's pretend that this yellow corner wants to get into here. So I can solve it as if I was trying to put that corner into this house. Now the final situation is if this corner right here that's white has the white facing upwards. Now I'm going to still locate it with its house, so orange and green and orange and green, but I'm going to do a different algorithm. And now in cubing, we have something called the sexy move. I know that sounds inappropriate. Please do not blame me. I wish I didn't need to say that. And so it's basically these four moves: R, U, R prime, U prime. Now, if you do that 6 times when your cube is in a solved state, it will bring it back to its solved state. And we're going to modify this move a little so that we can solve this cube. Now, we're going to do an R, and instead of a U, we're going to do U2, R prime, U prime. And you can see that will move our white, not to the top, but to the front, in of which we can then solve normally. And if you have done all those steps correctly, then you will see that you should have created the white layer, or the first layer. And the next step is to create the second layer by putting these edges into these 4 spots that I'm holding with my fingers. First, I'm going to find an edge that I have in the top layer that doesn't have yellow on it. So here I have orange and green on it. And once again, I'm still going to line up the centers. So this is actually an apartment or like a duplex. And so this edge's home is right here. So orange and green, orange and green. Now this algorithm is a little more tricky. It does take some time to remember, but you can get really fast when you do. And to do this algorithm, we're going to do U prime, L prime, U, L, U, F, U prime, F prime. Now, what I like to think when I'm solving this edge is that it also has a security system where here it also has a punching bag. So I have to move it out of the way and the door opens with the punching bag somewhere. I don't know. Punching glove, not the punching bag. Oh my goodness. Then it thinks it's safe to go back, but they're a little too slow and the door shuts. Now, it gets an idea, and this is where things get a little confusing because they go into the forbidden danger zone. But now the door opens from the front, in of which they can then get in. Then there's this situation where I have red and green, and then I have my red and green centers. And this edge must go right here, but it's on our right this time. Now we're basically gonna do everything in reverse. So U, out of the way, R, door opens with the punching glove. Edge thinks it's safe to go back, U prime, but they're a little too slow and the door shuts, R prime. They get an idea, go into the forbidden danger zone with a U prime. Now the door opens with an F prime, U, no, they're in the door, F, and it shuts with them in it. Now if I have an edge that is in another edge's spot or is in its correct spot but flipped, then I can just replace it with a white edge that is in the top layer. A white edge, a yellow edge. Learn your colors, people. And I have a yellow edge right here. And to get this edge out of the way, I can just do the same algorithm to move this edge out of the wrong house, in of which I can then solve into the correct house. Hello, future self here. Just wanted to say, repeat this with all the edges until all of them are finished. And if you have done all of those steps correctly, you will see that you have created the second layer. And the final step is to create the last layer. Now, for this, we're going to create the yellow cross. And there's only 3 situations that come when creating the yellow cross. The first is this sort of wonky L shape. And to do this, we're going to put it in our bottom right corner and do little f prime. Not the back one, little f prime. Now we're going to do the sexy move, R, U, R prime, U prime, little f prime to bring our yellow side back up. And you can see that has created a yellow cross. The second situation is where there's just a yellow line. I'm going to hold this horizontally and just do an F turn this time, but still do the sexy move, R, U, R prime, U prime, F prime, and bring the yellow edge back up. And you can see that it's also created the yellow cross. And the final scenario that comes when solving the yellow cross is where there's no edges and just a dot. Now this one, we're basically combining those past 2 algorithms together. We're gonna solve this like it was a yellow line with an F, sexy, F prime. And you can see that will give us that wonky L, which then we can put in our bottom right corner and solve it to create our yellow cross. Now we need to put all of the yellow edges in the correct positions. So I currently have 2 very big lines, one with this blue and one with this red. I'm gonna hold that in the back and the right and do this algorithm. R, U, R prime, U, R, U2, R prime, U. And this will put all of the edges in the correct positions. But sometimes you'll get this situation where the two big lines are across from each other. To solve this case, we're still going to use the same algorithm, but we're going to put this on the front and the back and do our algorithm. And that will put two edges next to each other that we can put in the back and right to solve the yellow edges once and for all. Now the final step is to put all of these yellow corners in the correct positions and then orient them into the correct positions. So first I'm going to try and find any yellow corner that is in their correct position. So this one, for example, where there's blue and orange and it's in between the blue and orange edges that have yellow on it. So that means this corner is in the correct position. I'm going to put it in the bottom right and do U, R, U prime, L prime, U, R prime, U prime, L. And that will move the corners around. And now you can see that all of my corners are in the correct position. But sometimes none of the yellow corners will be in their correct positions. And you can do the same algorithm until you find a corner that is, put it in the bottom right, and then do the algorithm to put the rest of the corners in the correct positions. And now we just have to turn them all the correct way. And you can just corner twist them, right? No, please do not do this. Once again, corner twisting is illegal in competitions. Instead, we're going to turn the cube over so that white is facing the top. And I'm going to put a yellow corner on my right side. And I'm going to do the sexy move. And I'm just going to keep doing this move until it turns over in the correct position. And of which I can then turn the bottom to give me another yellow corner. Once again, doing the sexy move until it turns in the correct position. And if you have done it so that now all of the yellow side is complete, then you can just turn it so that the rest of your cube has been completed and you have officially solved your first, or maybe not first, but one of your first times solving a Rubik's Cube. That's it for today. Thank you for watching. I hope you learned something new, and I will see you in the next video.